My Way to God. Author
Hossein Hilbert.
This part. Contact with Spirits. Part 2. Some time later, Amir and his mother were guests at my mother's house for lunch. My older sister's house, who was not present at the first spirit contact, was only a few houses away from my mother's. Around 5 p.m., my sister came and told Amir. I told my husband that you can make contact with spirits. He really wants to talk to his father. He asked me to ask you to come to our home and summon the spirit of his father. Amir agreed. His mother stayed with my mother. Amir, my wife Paria as a medium, and I went with my sister to her house. My sister's husband, Farhad, was very happy to see us, and especially Amir. After chatting, drinking tea and eating sweets, we sat down at a round table that seated 6 people. Paria sat to my right and Farhad to my left, next to me. My sister sat opposite me, and her 2 older children sat next to her. Amir stood a little further away from the table in front of Paria. There was absolute silence. Just like last time, Amir Farhad's father called with the power of his mind and said after a few moments, "Please introduce yourself. What is your name?" Apart from Farhad's family, none of us, Paria, Amir and I, knew Farhad's father's name. Paria was holding her hand tightly. And after a few moments, she relaxed her hand, and as her hand moved, she said, "Ali." As always, Amir thanked the spirit for accepting our invitation and welcomed him warmly. Then he asked Farhad to start the conversation with his father. After a few conversations, Farhad said, "I have a plan, but I don't know whether I should implement it or not." The answer came, "Do it." For a while Paria had lowered her head and closed her eyes, but suddenly, after writing and saying "do it," she said in a loud, excited voice, "Don't cry. Why are you crying?" Up until this point, all eyes were on Paria. When we heard this, we all turned to Farhad in surprise and looked at his face, because no one had heard the crying. We saw tears welling up under Farhad's semi-dark glasses. He was crying silently, under the impact of the conversations he had had with his father after many years. After the meeting, Farhad confirmed that what Paria had written was his father's handwriting. When we got home, I said to Paria, "Why did you stop when you were about to say Farhad's father's name and hold your hand tightly?" She said, "The name Ali immediately came to mind. I don't know why I wanted to say a different name instead of Ali, and held my hand tightly. But when the name Ali kept repeating in my head, I relaxed my hand and said Ali." I asked in surprise, "Why did you want to say a different name?" She said, "Like I said, I don't know. I had become like a child that the devil wants to tempt to do something bad.